Let me ask you something. You open your fridge right now, there's ice, there's plastic wrap, there's vacuum-sealed bags, there's a freezer that keeps things cold for months. You don't even think about it, it's just there. Now erase all of that. No fridge, no ice, no plastic, no electricity, nothing. It's the 1st century. You're standing on the shore of the Sea of Galilee. The sun is already brutal at 6 in the morning. You just pulled in a net full of tilapia, sardines, and barbel fish. Hundreds of them. Slippery, silver, still flipping on the wet stones. And here's your problem. In 3 hours, in this heat, every single one of those fish will start to rot. The flesh will soften. The eyes will cloud. The smell will hit you from 20 feet away. By noon, they're worthless. By tomorrow, they're dangerous. So what do? You don't panic, because your father taught you, and his father taught him, and his father before that. For generations, the fishermen of the Sea of Galilee had a system, a method so effective that their preserved fish was shipped to Jerusalem, exported across the Mediterranean, and even sold in the markets of Rome. No refrigeration, no chemicals, no technology, just salt, sun, wind, and knowledge. This is how they did it. First, let's talk about what they were catching. The Sea of Galilee, which is actually a freshwater lake, about 13 miles long and 8 miles wide, was home to several species of fish. The most important ones were tilapia, barbel, sardines, and catfish. Now, here's something most people don't know. Jewish fishermen couldn't eat or sell all of them. According to Levitical law, a fish had to have both fins and scales to be considered clean. Catfish? No scales. So Jewish fishermen couldn't eat it, couldn't sell it at Jewish markets. But they didn't throw it away either. They sold it to Greek communities on the eastern side of the lake, where dietary laws didn't apply. The real money fish were tilapia and sardines. Tilapia was the big, meaty fish, what we now call St. Peter's fish. Sardines were tiny, but they made up over half of the commercial catch. And sardines, as we'll see, were the perfect fish for preservation. But before any of that, before salting, before drying, before anything, the fishermen had to actually catch them. And that was an art in itself. There were 3 types of nets used on the Sea of Galilee in the 1st century, and each one worked differently. The first was the cast net. This was a circular net, about 15 to 25 feet across, with lead weights around the edges. A single fisherman would stand in shallow water, or on a boat, spot a school of fish, and throw the net over them like a parachute. It would sink fast, trapping the fish underneath. Then he'd dive in, and either pull the fish out one by one, or gather the whole net and drag it to shore. This is exactly what Simon Peter and Andrew were doing when Jesus called them. Matthew 4:18. He saw 2 brothers, Simon called Peter and his brother Andrew, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. The second type was the trammel net, a compound net made of 3 layers. The 2 outer layers had wide mesh. The inner layer was fine mesh, hanging loosely between them. Fishermen would lower this net into the water at night, because during the day the linen threads were too visible and the fish would avoid them. Then, from a second boat, other fishermen would splash the water, bang oars against the hull, stomp their feet, anything to scare the fish toward the net. The fish would swim through the first wide layer easily, hit the fine inner mesh, push through it into the third layer, and get hopelessly tangled. This is the net in Luke 5. The disciples had been fishing all night with trammel nets and caught nothing. Jesus told them to try again. They did, and the catch was so massive, their nets began to break. The third type was the dragnet, the oldest and largest. This was a wall of net, up to 750 to 900 feet long and 25 feet high, with lead sinkers on the bottom and cork floats on the top. A boat would carry it offshore, drop it parallel to the coast, and then teams of up to 16 men would pull it to shore with long ropes. Everything between the net and the beach got swept in. Tilapia, sardines, barbel, catfish, everything. Then came the sorting. The clean fish went into baskets. The unclean fish, the catfish, the scaleless ones were thrown back or set aside for Gentile buyers. Jesus used this exact image in Matthew 13:47 3. The kingdom of heaven is like a net that was let down into the lake and caught all kinds of fish. When it was full, the fishermen pulled it up on the shore, sat down and collected the good fish in baskets, but threw the bad away. That wasn't a metaphor he invented. That was a scene he watched happen every single day on the shore of Capernaum. So now you've got the fish, hundreds of pounds of it, maybe more, wet, fresh, glistening in the early morning light. And the clock is ticking. Fish spoils faster than almost any other food. In the Mediterranean heat, bacterial decomposition begins within hours. The enzymes in the fish's own gut start breaking down the flesh from the inside. Without intervention, a fresh fish becomes inedible in less than a day. The fishermen of Galilee knew this. They didn't know the word bacteria. They didn't understand enzymes. But they understood the result, and they had a solution that had been perfected over centuries. They had Magdala. Here's something fascinating. There was a town on the western shore of the Sea of Galilee, about 3 miles north of Tiberias. In Hebrew, it was called Magdala, meaning tower. But the Greeks and Romans knew it by a different name. Taricheae. Taricheae comes from the Greek word tarikos, which means preserved by salting or drying fish. The town was literally named after its industry. It would be like calling a city pickle factory or salted fish town. And yes, this is the same Magdala that Mary Magdalene came from. Her name, Mary Magdalene, literally means Mary from the tower of the fish salting city. The Greek geographer Strabo wrote, around the time of Jesus' birth, at the place called Taricheae, the lake supplies the best fish for curing. The best, not just good, the best in the region. Archaeological excavations at Magdala have uncovered a massive harbor, 700 meters long, along with abundant fishing tools, lead net weights, bronze hooks, a marketplace with 28 shops, over 4,000 ancient coins, and small plastered pools that archaeologists believe were salting vats. The same kind of vats found at Roman fish processing sites across the Mediterranean, from Portugal to Tunisia. By the mid-1st century, Magdala's population had grown to approximately 30,000 people. It was the most important city on the western coast of the Sea of Galilee until Tiberias was founded, and its wealth came almost entirely from one thing: preserved fish. So when a fisherman from Capernaum or Bethsaida pulled in more fish than he could sell fresh that day, he didn't let it rot. He sailed to Magdala, and there, the real work began. The moment the fish arrived at the processing area, workers would gut them, every single one. They'd slit the belly open with a small blade, pull out the intestines, the organs, the gills, everything inside. Then they'd wash the fish thoroughly in clean water. This step was critical. The internal organs are where decomposition starts fastest. Removing them bought time, but not much. The fish still needed to be preserved and fast. Now, here's an interesting detail. Those guts and organs, they didn't throw them away, they saved them. Because those innards were the key ingredient in one of the most valuable products in the ancient world, a fermented fish sauce called garum. Garum was made by layering fish intestines and small whole fish with salt in stone vats and leaving them to ferment in the sun for 1 to 2 months. The result was a pungent, amber-colored liquid that Romans used the way we use soy sauce or Worcestershire sauce today. It was added to almost everything: meat, vegetables, bread, and believe it or not, even wine. Garum from quality producers was incredibly expensive. A single jar could cost more than fine perfume, so nothing was wasted. The flesh was preserved for eating. The guts became garum. Every part of the fish had value. Step 2. The salt. After gutting and washing, the real preservation began. According to studies in ancient technology, the process went like this. Coarse salt is then rubbed into the gills, mouth, and scales. Workers would take handfuls of rough, grainy salt and physically massage it into every surface of the fish, inside the mouth, into the gill openings, across the scales, into the cavity where the organs had been. Then the fish were stacked in layers inside stone, or plastered vats. A layer of fish, a thick layer of salt, another layer of fish, more salt, fish, salt, until the vat was full. The vat was then covered with dry matting, woven reed or palm fiber, and left to sit. Now here's the science they understood intuitively without ever calling it science. Salt kills bacteria through osmosis. It draws the water out of the fish's cells and out of any microorganisms on the surface. Without water, bacteria can't survive. Without bacteria, the fish doesn't rot. The fish would sit in these salt vats for 3 to 5 days. During this time, the body fluids would drain away, and the salt solution would penetrate deep into the flesh. After that initial period, the entire pile was turned over, flipped, and left to sit for another 3 to 5 days. After this process, the fish were, in the words of the ancient text, firm and hard. The flesh had transformed. It was no longer soft and perishable. It was dense, dry, salty, and preserved. But where did the salt come from? Step 3. The drying, salt curing alone could preserve fish for days, maybe a couple of weeks. But for fish that needed to travel long distances to Jerusalem, to the Mediterranean ports, to Rome, an additional step was often used: sun drying. After the salt cure, fish were laid out on nets or flat stones in direct sunlight. The combination of salt and sun removed virtually all remaining moisture from the flesh. For large fish like tilapia, this could take several days, but for sardines, small, thin, easy to handle, the process was remarkably fast. Sardines could be spread out on raised nets, elevated above the ground to keep ants and insects away, and dried in the sun. Being so small and thin, they dried quickly. Within a couple of days, there was no moisture left in them at all. They became perfectly preserved, light, portable, and shelf-stable for weeks or even months. This is almost certainly what the boy in John 6:9 was carrying. The story of the feeding of the 5,000 mentions a boy with 5 barley loaves and 2 small fish. Only John's Gospel specifies that the fish were small. Scholars believe these were dried, salted sardines, the kind you could carry in a pocket or a cloth pouch, light, compact, and preserved, a common snack for a traveler walking several miles to hear a rabbi speak. 5 small rolls and 2 dried sardines. That was a normal packed lunch in 1st century Galilee. Step 4. The pickling. There was a third preservation method beyond salting and drying: pickling. Sardines, because of their small size, were particularly well suited for this. They were placed in a mixture of brine, salt dissolved in water, and vinegar, then packed into narrow-necked clay jars called amphoras. These amphoras were sealed and could be stored for months. They were also easy to transport by boat or pack animal. Magdala was known for its extensive fish factories, where locally caught fish were dried and salted or pickled to produce a sauce that was preserved in clay jars called amphoras. These products were packed and shipped, likely to all parts of Israel and even beyond. So, the fishermen of Galilee had 3 methods at their disposal: salt curing, rubbing with coarse salt, and layering in vats for 6-10 days, good for medium-term preservation; sun drying, laying salted fish in direct sunlight for days until completely dehydrated, good for long-term preservation and transport; pickling in brine, submerging in salt and vinegar solution in sealed amphoras, good for long-distance shipping and extended storage. Each method served a different purpose: fresh fish for the local market today, salt-cured fish for the regional market this week, dried fish for Jerusalem next month, pickled fish in amphoras for Rome. What this tells us: here's what I find remarkable about all of this. We read the Gospels, and we see fishermen, simple men. Uneducated, we assume, rough hands, simple lives. But the reality is far more complex. These men operated within a sophisticated economic system. They understood marine biology, where fish schooled, when they fed, how they responded to light and sound. They mastered multiple fishing technologies. They maintained and repaired complex equipment. They navigated tax systems, formed business partnerships, and participated in an international supply chain that moved preserved fish from a freshwater lake in Galilee to dinner tables in Rome. Peter wasn't simple. Andrew wasn't simple. James and John weren't simple. They were skilled professionals operating in a demanding, regulated, competitive industry, and they left it all behind. Not because they didn't understand what they were giving up, but because they did. That's what makes the story powerful. They knew exactly what those nets were worth. They knew exactly what that next catch could bring. They knew the value of a good haul of sardines, salted and packed for Jerusalem, and they dropped it. All of it on the shore, still wet, because someone said, "Follow me." And they did. The salt dried on the stones. The nets lay where they fell. The fish kept swimming. And the fishermen walked away into a story that would be told for 2,000 years.